Everybody likes to go to a local lake and swim a little bit, likely with your friends. Enjoy some quality time with friends or family. But few are actually aware of the risks that lurk inside these bodies of water. Of course, some lakes are more dangerous than others. Your local lake is probably pretty safe to swim. However, there are a few lakes so incredibly murderous that the number of deaths they cause lies within the triple digits. The same accounts for the lake whose history we are about to uncover today. Lake Lanier, located in Georgia. It is the most infamous lake in the United States and has caused roughly 600 deaths over the years. If you want to support this channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But without further ado, let's dive into the horrifying history of Lake Lanier. Since geographically Georgia does not have many natural lakes, back in 1950 the government approved the construction of one called Lake Lanier. The construction of Lake Lanier finished back in 1956. However, the problems had already started before that. Although the actual difficulties with the lake itself only began in 1950, it was pretty evident prior to that date that the land was cursed with bad luck. One example of these conflicts is the 1912 lynching, also known as the 1912 racial conflict of Forsyth County, Georgia. Within that conflict, two white women were allegedly attacked by two black men. One of the women accused the black men of breaking into her house and raping her. The other woman was beaten to death and also raped. Ernest Knox was linked to those crimes together with his half-brother. When confronted by the sheriff, he confessed to his crimes and implicated his half-brother and his mother's husband. After the mother testified against her son, they were both sentenced to be hung. 21 days after the trial, the sentence was carried out. Before their execution, however, a black preacher tried to force the sheriff to release the two men. This, however, only resulted in a mob of white folks forming who then kidnapped Rob Edwards, who was convicted for the second murder and beat him to death. After that, his body was hung from a telephone pole near the present City Hall. Cases like this repeated many times throughout history prior to the construction of the lake and raised the tensions between the roughly 1,000 black and the 10,000 white inhabitants, eventually leading to the threatening and intimidating of many black families, causing them to flee the county. While most people had left the area of Oscarville, there were still many abandoned buildings and inhabited homes. Therefore, for the construction of the lake, roughly 50,000 acres of land had to be destroyed, which displaced 250 families, 15 businesses, and 20 cemeteries. One thing you might need to know is that many families had their own graveyards in their gardens, and although the government promised to move these graves, many families reported that they never were. These claims are actually not that improbable since many buildings weren't removed properly either, or even at all, and if the water level sinks deep enough, you can actually still see their roofs. Despite the previously stated allegations, the construction of the lake went fairly smoothly. However, shortly after the construction, strange things started to happen around the lake. Many people started to disappear into the lake, but the strangest thing is that they never returned or were found at all. Some theories suggest the cause for this being alligators. However, in Georgia, there are no natural alligators. The only ones that can be found are the ones that are released by humans, but even those are usually caught and brought to another location quite quickly. Another haunting story of Lake Lanier is the story of the lady in the lake. In 1958, two friends, Delilah Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts, tried to get some fuel without paying for it. As they took off, they drove down a bridge straight into the lake. Roughly a year later, a fisherman found a horrendously decomposed body that had appeared near one of the bridges and was identified as Delilah Mae Parker Young. Many years later, in 1990, the car was actually found, and in it were the remains of what must have been Susie Roberts. Before her remains were found, though, many people reported seeing a woman in the lake wearing a blue dress, wandering near the bridge and eventually catching people and dragging them into the lake. Modern theories suggest that few bodies are actually found due to the tremendous amounts of debris that are still to this day beneath the surface of the water. But what do you think? Is this enough to explain the sightings of the Lady of the Lake and the 3 times higher death rates compared to lakes only 3 miles away? Tell me what you think and leave a comment below. As always, if this video was interesting to you, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and share this with your friends.